Hey, what's going on? This is your host, Tone Duncan. The 1 p.m. Sunday conversation is coming to you right now. Hope all is well. Hope everybody has had a wonderful week. We are starting off our week on a Sunday, and it is a privilege to hang out with you today. I want to start off by saying thank you so much to all of you who have been following the show over the last few days. We've had it every Sunday now. This is our third week. Sundays, 1 p.m. We're a little late today, but we will make sure that we are on time and doing fine in the future. Thank you again. And what we really want to pull out of this show is an opportunity to talk to you, the listener, about the things that sometimes we trouble with when it comes to our walk with God, our mission in life, and our realization of who we truly are. So I want to thank you so much for an opportunity to share this with you. This is an engagement show, so I'm hoping to engage you, the listener, to what we're talking about. We are now accepting calls in every week for every show, and we'll be putting that number out very shortly. So by all means, keep a listen in. I want to say hello first and foremost to my wonderful and beautiful wife, Shay. Thank you so much. My sister, Steph. And I see my good friend, Helene, watching. What's up? You know, when we deal with faith and our pursuit with God, we sometimes find a path through religious teachings. But as we know, religion can get you connected with God, but your relationship with God is what creates the dynamicy of your existence. So I hope that today we have an opportunity to move a little bit away from religion, because religion divides us, but faith unites us. You know, as I studied through ministry school, I realized something that was amazing. There was an underlying teaching that sometimes gets forgotten in our day-to-day awareness, and that is that we are children of God, and that we are not an accident. We're not cursed and damned, but we're loved and we are united. So I hope that today we can start on that premise, because too often we get pushed away with feelings of sadness and negativity. We get pushed away with false beliefs that don't allow us to celebrate who we truly are. I want to say what's up to Jody. I want to say what's up to Tasa, my girl in the house, DJ Cole, and of course, Mama Helen. Hey, thank you guys so very much. Remember, like, comment, share. Tell me how you feel. I'd like to talk to you today about the things that make us feel separated from God. Some of us oftentimes, we want to feel divinely connected. We want to feel like God is here for us. But the reality is that it's very hard when we go through turbulence. It's very hard when we go through the tough times. But the reality is that this is not truly the relationship. These are just the situations that define our faith. Karen, what's going on? Sister girl in the house. Hope all is well with you. I know that some of us have found ourselves on the outside of church because either we can't find the right church home, or maybe we just have gotten into a few obstacles in the church that we had, so long visited. And we want to maintain our relationship with God. And we're struggling to find out how it all makes sense. Sometimes when the bills are not really getting paid the way that we want them to, or maybe there's sickness in our lives, we start to figure that maybe we're doing something wrong. Maybe God is upset with us for something. So we go and we try to find a religious route to build a better relationship. But religion does not create relationships. And so I want to move us closer towards those relationships. One of the things that you'll notice about our show is that there are many faiths that turn in and tune to what we're talking about today. So I may ask you questions, and in your mind, you'll have a religious explanation or way of thinking, and I totally embrace it, but I'm not talking about that. So I say, I don't have a church home. I know what you mean. When I found out that the kingdom of heaven is what we are to search for, I realized that you no longer have to search, because as Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is in you. So when we start to clear out the path towards that relationship with God, we realize it's not an outward climb, but an inward awareness. So I'm excited about that today. So often I personally have wondered, how can I get a closer relationship to God? But it's because the lessons of the world have taught me that I was somewhere and God was somewhere else. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But the reality is, no, not at all. In reality, God and I can never be separate unless, of course, I close my eyes to the truth. Like an ostrich who digs his head into the dirt. Sometimes that's the way we perceive our own relationship with God. But Jesus says, seek ye first the kingdom. And many of us said, all right, I'm willing to go to the ends of the earth. But a little further down, he says, the kingdom of heaven is in you. But what does that mean? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? How do we go forward with that information? And what we find out is that it takes deep, deep thinking from within. It takes a desire to separate the confusion in the mind, move away from the thoughts of today, and understand that the relationship that we seek is not in the mind, it's in the spirit. And when the deep speaketh to the deep, it has nothing to do with the carnalness of the brain. See, because the mind will flow all kind of strange thoughts. I mean, you could be in the middle of a prayer and the strangest thoughts will come across your head. Know that that is not God. God is not in your mind. Religion is in your mind. But when we move away from religion, let me tell you something. We get closer to the truth, and the truth will set us free. So I thank God for that. I was meditating on the way here and saying to myself, God, I study, but it's only you that can lead my conversation. I mean, I may come up with 10 different things I want to talk about, but I realized that the teachings of God are the only things that will ever come out of my mouth with authority and clarity. So I thank God for the ability to go deep inside of our temple. I always point to the temples because you have to know that inside of you is where God truly reigns. I had a conversation with a gentleman after my show last week, and I explained to him the reason why I don't spend a lot of time talking about the Bible. And the truth of the matter is, the Bible means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Jesus spoke in parables, and he said The narrow road is the way to salvation. And as I look at the mega churches, as I look at these extreme beliefs of the Christian faith today, I can't say that that's the narrow road. You know, the truth of the matter is, it's deeper than what we see on the outside. Some of us think because there were many parables that were explained in the Bible, that all the truths are already there for you to just read. And I know that some of us, because our pastors were trained in that way, they teach us this, and it's okay. But as we seek a deeper conversation, we realize that the relationship communicates in a way that words cannot reemphasize. Our conversation with God doesn't allow us to speak in definite terms because the minute it comes from the spirit to the mouth, it's already lost some of its clarity. So I realize that so many of us, we have a great passion and a natural connection to God. What hurts my heart, though, is when I hear people who feel as though God is not there and that God doesn't want to be there and they feel so devoid of God. And some of us, we know what that's like. We've been through that. Some of us, we judge the relationship we have with God by the material things of today, because today we are learning so often that God is being equated with material things. I'm talking about nowadays, if you don't have a Mercedes Benz, God isn't blessing you. If you don't have an amazing amount of items to brag about, if you don't have a wonderful car, if you don't have a wonderful home, if your clothes aren't great somehow, you are missing your blessing. But no. Recognize this and know it in your heart that the truth is not in the material, but in the supernatural. You know, the mysticism of the word will keep us in preponderance for years. They're so deep that every time we think we know, all we really know is that was one layer down with tons of layers to follow. So I never ever want to come across as someone who knows anything more than the truth about how God relates to the inner man in each one of us. See, when you understand the divinity of yourself, when you understand that you are the child of God made through the spirit of breath, you become confident, which means that, hey, if you lose your confidence, you didn't lose your God. You lost your awareness of God. I don't know if you've ever had a child. I've had children and I love my children. And I remember letting my daughter ride her bike. And it was the day that we took the training wheels off. And you know, as I let her ride, she started to go and then she got a little nervous. You know, she started thinking maybe she was going to fall because I wasn't holding her the way she hoped I could, because I had to let her go so that she knew she had the power within. Sometimes we're in that situation where God has let us go just so that we can see the confidence that the divine never truly leaves us, but allows us the right to feel the power of self. Be not afraid and don't be dismayed. You are always in the presence of a powerful God. So I thank you for sharing with me today these moments of truth. Now, this show is not like my regular Tuesday show where we start to talk about some of the things of today, but this brings the deeper part of truth seeking. So often I want to get in there and talk to you about the things that are for real, but you know, our people, we are surface people. The world of today, it's hard to talk about the deeper things, because when you talk deep, then there's contradictions, there's belief systems, and there's all kind of strange things that eliminate the cohesiveness of care. The deep desire to love is castrated by dogma, and we walk away feeling isolated and confused. Today, I want to tell you our show is a no shade show. We talk about our relationships with God. Nobody here wants to be religious. So we'll move it away and turn it into that relationship. You know, as I study all of the religions, I am shocked by how they all say the same thing. And that is God is the creator of that which was made in his own image. But that image isn't the image that we think. See, because as Paul said, we walk by faith and not by sight. But now let's think about it. If we walk by faith and we are the image of God, then we're not talking about hands, toes, and feet, y'all. We're talking about spirits, because it was the spirit, the breath of God, that was breathed into clay to create man. This was an explanation so that you could better understand that you are not the exterior, because that will pass. You are the deepness of the inner self, that which God created, and it was good. So when we start to think that maybe the outside self can damage the inside self, realize that we have misunderstood the truth. And that truth is what I believe Jesus has come to explain time and time again. So as we talk on this Sunday conversation, I want you to ask yourself one question. Am I God's child because of my flesh? Because I'm a human? Or because I am spirit? Because if you are God's child, because you are spirit, then we need to get deeper, remove ourselves from the names that our parents have given us, the looks that we see in the mirror, the clothes that we wear to describe our inner selves, and go deep where we need to find our connection. Hey, today I want to talk to you guys about one very simple thing, and that is, do you know, do you believe that you are a child of God? Not born to be a child of God through your religious conversion, but the original, through your spirit, child of the Most High, because that is how God created you. You know, I was talking to a person and they had no idea that before they were crafted on this earth, they were already children of God. Sometimes we are told that we become children because we don't quite understand the words. Now, some of us have been told different things. And if you've been told something different, I just want you to study. Show thyself approved. Because what you will find out is you have always been the child of God. I like to bring up the prodigal son. See, the prodigal son is one of the best explanations for exactly who we are. See, the prodigal son tells you that without question, there's a part of your carnal mind that will one day have you cash in your inheritance and move on towards explorations of the physical. But it's in that struggle that you will find this is not you. And when you do find that this world is not for you, the spiritual you will come running back home. But what does it say? Does it say you have to do any special thing in order to be received back from your Father? Nope. You just show up. You just show up and he's right there, hands open wide to embrace you. Never, ever believe anything different, because it is secondary to what we are truly taught. And I want to know, come on, talk to me, you guys. Do you, in your heart, in your spirit, and in your soul, believe that you are the child of God? Because when you start to go through adversity, what gets you through the hard times? What gets you through the indecisiveness? What makes you believe when everything else seems so real? See, again, we can't rely on what we see. We must know that that which we cannot see is greater than all that can be visualized. Again, remembering back to where it says we must walk by faith and not by sight. I talked to somebody once when we were talking about the scriptures, and I was saying how divinely inspired the scriptures were. I said, but truthfully, God does not speak to you through the word of the scriptures. If you study any of the great prophets, they will all tell you the same thing. God speaketh to the inner man. I don't care what prophet you want to pull out. I don't care who you believe. But if you research, you find out God communicates through an inner track. He'll talk to you through you, and no one else can hear, because God has a constant telephone line to your soul. And you know, that line goes both ways. So we can feel the truth when times get rough. Yes, you are. I know that's right, Tasha. Tell it like the world need to know it. Yes. You know, sometimes because our learning, our understanding of scriptures has come from a source that has been at some times in the favor of God and sometimes not so much. So we hear that, man, if you don't go to church, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, well, then you're going to have a hard time because God wants you to do this, that, and the third. But the truth is, talk to me. You know it because you feel it. God has always been there. All that has to happen is something strange, and the communication doors open wide. And all of a sudden, you're talking to a God that you know in your heart has always been there. It's always been there. And that's the God we need to build a relationship with. Not the God that you got to read and study and go ask somebody else about. Now, that God might be an amazing God, but that's not the God that you came here with. Some of y'all know what I'm saying. That's not the God who woke you up this morning. No, no, no. The God that woke you up this morning, that raised you up with purpose and with a blessing, was with you when you rose. See, when you know yourself, you know God. And when you know God, you know yourself. You know, the Egyptians of ancient, they had a statement, and that was, man, know thyself. And I want to talk to you about that. See, because in the ancient and deepest beliefs, because you must understand the power, you cannot rely on an outside source. If you do not understand the God within, then sadly, you are the man without. And I know we can't have any of that. I want to stop for a second and say what's up to Renee, Crystal in the house, Wood Fork, what's good? Hey, Holly, what's going on? All of you, thank you so very much. Checking in, hanging out with me. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on IntellectualRadio.com. This is an iHeart channel, so if you're ever out and about, just pick us up on iHeart. The name of this show is The Sunday Conversation. We're here at 1 o'clock, and we are excited at all times to share with you the power of God, but not the God that comes from a church, not the God that comes from a verse, but the God that was with you before you ever were formed in your mother's stomach. Thank you. As I said, we're going to open up the lines in a little while so that we can talk to you and hear your voice, because some of you have something to talk about. Have you ever wanted to talk to God, but you didn't go inside? I mean, you went outside looking for somebody to talk to, but they didn't hear you because it wasn't their job. See, the truth is, if I want to go talk to my father on earth and I walk up to a stranger and I say, Dad, it's not his job to answer me like he's my father. No, in actuality, it's his job to tell me I'm not your daddy. See, when we search on the outside, God wants us to realize that's not it. That's not me. That's not where you're going to find your truth. So I thank God for every obstacle that has brought me closer to a relationship awareness. You know, I always start off every show that I do in meditative prayer. See, and I think about the only prayer that Jesus ever taught us to have. You know what that prayer was? That prayer was to first and foremost glorify the power of the Most High and promise that all that is done in the majesties of heaven will be emulated in your life on earth. And thank Him for the little things you have. And then immediately within yourself, begin to cleanse of all your wrongdoing. But as one sees the weakness of their own actions, they become empathetic and compassionate to the misunderstandings of others. I ask you today, have you remembered that we are not in a judgment relationship? How can anyone judge when we're constantly realizing our shortcomings? You know, when I see a person make a mistake, somebody almost cut me off on the expressway here. You know what I said? Ooh, boy, I wonder how many people I might have accidentally cut off doing the same thing. I could have rolled up angry, blowing the horn, starting trouble, but their flaw made me recognize my own mistakes. I ask that about you. Have you ever went somewhere deep inside yourself and saw the wrongdoings of others as a mirror of the wrongdoings of yourself? Because if you have, I'm going to tell you right now, you one step better than most. Because you cannot judge and love. See, knowledge puffs up. When you can see the wrong in others, now all of a sudden you're their judge. But the same way you shall be judged. Not by some condemning outside force. Come on, get it together. But by your own belief system. How many of you understand that right now, today, every move you make is based on the way you have judged yourself? Some of y'all know what I'm saying. See, when you judge yourself as wrong, as evil, as originally part of a sinful nature, you don't understand your own divinity. See, with divinity, you realize you were perfect from the start, but you had to make mistakes. Listen when I tell you this. You have a beautiful child. I mean, a beautiful child. Everybody's celebrating how beautiful your child is. He wakes up, Mommy, Daddy, come give you a hug. And then all of a sudden they done did something wrong. Now, you don't want to mistreat them. You don't want to judge them. No, you smile and love. They're just a baby. Of course they're going to make mistakes. This gives them an opportunity to learn. And what they learn, they incorporate for strength, for guidance. I want to say a quick shout out, Sean. Salon, what's good, my brother? Marv, hey, what's going on? Charlie B in the house. Got to say what's up. Remember, I got to keep telling you every Sunday, 1 o'clock is the Sunday conversation. Today's conversation is really simple. Here it is. Do you know that you are a child of God? Not based on some religious observation, but because you were born the child of God. You were the child of God before you got here. And you use here to learn how to manifest that. People don't understand. We talk often, and I will be honest with y'all. I talk to a lot of different people, but about the deeper things in the Gospels, the deeper knowledge, the, the hidden truth. See, a lot of people don't understand this, but when the Bible was written, Christianity was oppressed. The knowledge of God was not allowed by the Romans. See, the Romans only allowed religions that were approved by the state, by the empire. And if you know who Nero was, you'll understand that there was a hatred towards any form of non-Hellenistic tradition. And so a lot of what we read today, though it seemed to have a powerful message, just like Jesus when he spoke to the multitude, it's only the shadow. The deeper truth is so much more. But it's only through faith that you can make that word whole. And it's only through getting your mind out of the way so that the spirit can talk to the soul. Some of y'all know what I mean. Some of y'all are experiencing this right now. I mean, I remember when I first became a Christian, I think my entire prayer was trying to let God know how he should be taking care of business. God, I really need this. And God, if you could just move this other thing to the side. And God, if you had only knew that I wanted it to go this way. See, we spend a lot of time telling God how to do his job, yet and still we need to be still and let God have his way. Santi, what's going on, good brother? Man, we got to talk about it today. Some of you know that we have nothing that's of any value when we concern ourselves with that which isn't real. See, we spend so much of our life in our carnal senses. See, we wake up in the morning, quickly brush our teeth, quickly take a shower, quickly shave, comb our hair, and off to work we go. It's a material flow until we get home and fall asleep. Oh, we get so tired. See, we spend a whole life on the outside. And then we wonder why the inside's so messed up. But I tell you this, and you better believe it. We were not meant for work. We work to have good meaning. See, the real work that we were put here for, you don't get a paycheck at the end of the day for. You can't clock in an hour clock, and you can't be fired. I'm telling y'all, when I found out that there's no separation between me and my father, man, my confidence went high. I said, but I'm inferior. I'm clumsy sometimes. I sometimes don't say the right words. Sometimes I think I'm right and I go back, I study and I made a mistake. I can't be from a divine source. But that's not the truth. See, the truth is you are here to learn. We are on this earth to build our awareness of the divine self. So I say to you, thank you. Thank you. Because if I didn't make a mistake, I wouldn't have a chance to know. I remember when I used to train dogs. I used to work for canine security. And then after I worked for them, I started training dogs. I had a salon, and a lot of my friends, many of you know about these dogs. We had really, really amazing dogs, some of the most expensive exotic dogs in the world. And I remember a friend, he had given me a dog right before he went to Florida, and he said, Tone, if you could just do me a favor and train my dog, I'd pay you for it. I said, sure, no problem. I had that dog for a week. And when he came back, he was excited. The dog walked up to him, sat in front of him. And he said to me, he said, Tone, is my dog trained? Watch this. He said, Tone, is my dog trained? And I had to tell him the truth. I said, you know what? I was with your dog every day, but he didn't make any mistakes. So I can't tell you if he's trained. He said, what do you mean? I said, you got to understand this, brother. If they don't make mistakes, they can't be trained. You have to make a mistake to learn a lesson. The lesson becomes the blessing. I pray for mistakes, and I pray that God provides protection as we learn and as we correct our way. Some of y'all felt that. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about because you have cursed yourself. You have allowed yourself to be judged as unworthy because you did that which you came for. Scriptures say, be ye perfect like your Father is perfect. Well, that's a buildup. He didn't say you should always be perfect. That wasn't the way it was explained. So God is with you, working with you, working through your thoughts, working through your hardships. When you have nothing, you have God. When you have everything, you still have the same amount of God. But we sometimes forget our God because our material self is so filled up. Remember, the carnal mind is not a place for the Lord. That is dust. You won't find your God in your mind. No. You'll find lust. You'll find problems. You'll find anger, bitterness, confusion. But you won't find God. God does not dwell in the brain because it is too small. But the spirit of man contains the fullness of God in every one of us. We are children of God. I say we are the children of the Most High. Some of you smile at that and you say, well, yeah, because, I got Jesus in my heart. No. Listen to what Jesus said. No. Jesus said very simply, you are children of God. And I am in the Lord and you are in me. Thus you and God are connected. How many people have ever heard of the transverse property in geometry? Transverse property goes like this. If A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A and C, put a line across them. They're equal. But you gotta know, you'll never find that in the mind. It's the deeper self that'll teach you your truest wealth. Ralston, what's going on? Sister Steph in the house. I thank you guys. Every Sunday, 1 p.m., we're having this Sunday conversation. Listen, this is where it goes. And it's real simple. God made man, and it was good. Now, if your scriptures tell you that it wasn't good, then I'm going to have to tell you to go back and reread. And I tell people that the spirit contains the depth deeper than oceans, just like the spiritual words. Yes, there's a top, there are waves. Somebody tells me, I remember a kid told me, I've seen the ocean, it's got lots of waves. And I wanted to say, did you know how deep it was? No. You can't talk to a kid about how deep the ocean is because they're concerned with that which they can see. And they say, the ocean's got waves, and I think it's got a lot of fish. And that's okay, because that's where they are. And we come in to our spiritual awareness the same way. And it's not our fault. See, we try to find our truth through the mind. And it's only after hitting a wall that we sit back and say, I can't figure it out, God, help me. And God speaks to you, but not through your mind. Speaks to you through your spirit and says, this way. Go there, go deep, meditate silently, clear the noise, the confusion, the pain. Separate yourself from your identity that has a name and go to the true self that is a child of God. You know, I remember the first time I ever heard that God breathed into clay and formed man. I said, hold on, y'all. God breathed? He doesn't have lungs. He doesn't need oxygen. How is this possible? And then I started to study what it meant in the Middle East in the ancient times. See, breath was life. And if one didn't have breath, they didn't have life. So if I give you my breath, I give you that life. I can't give you a zebra's life. I can't give you a jaguar, a gorilla's life. I have to give you Tony's life. So when God breathes into you, know yourself. You are the child of the divine. Man, my time has left us quick here. I leave you with love. Remember what John said. Anyone who says they love God but does not love their brother is a lie. You cannot love God and hate your brother. And here's the reason why. Because the Spirit of God, which makes that man alive, is God that you serve. You love that brother, love yourself. And I'll see y'all next week, Sunday, 1 p.m. It's your boy, Tone Duncan. Sunday Conversation. Peace.